My brother-in-law told my kids I wasn't their real parent while everyone stayed silent. Then my wife made one call and said 3 words that changed everything. The words came out of Keith's mouth at exactly 6:34 p.m. on a Sunday in October, right between the main course and dessert at my mother-in-law's annual family dinner. 14 people around the table, my 2 kids sitting on either side of me, and my brother-in-law decided that was the perfect moment to detonate our lives. "You know your dad here," he said, gesturing at me with his wine glass, his words slightly slurred. "Isn't actually your real father, right?" The room went silent. Not the comfortable silence of people pausing to listen, but the thick, suffocating silence of people holding their breath, waiting to see what happens next. My daughter Lily, 8 years old, stopped mid-bite of her mashed potatoes. My son Noah, 10, looked at Keith, then at me, confusion spreading across his face. "What?" Noah said. Keith smiled. Actually smiled. "Your real dad died when you were babies. This guy," he pointed at me with his fork now, "just married your mom and played pretend father for the last 6 years. I felt my wife Rebecca's hand grip my thigh under the table, her fingers digging in so hard I knew there would be bruises. But I couldn't look at her. I was watching Lily's face crumple, watching Noah's eyes fill with tears, watching my children process information that should have been shared gently, privately, when they were old enough to understand, not thrown at them like a grenade at a dinner table. "Keith," Rebecca's mother, Patricia, said quietly from the head of the table. Just his name. Not a reprimand, not a demand that he apologize, just his name spoken in a tone that suggested mild disappointment, like he'd used the wrong fork. "What?" Keith said, looking around the table with exaggerated innocence. "They should know the truth. They're old enough now. You all know I'm right. They deserve to know that Daniel here isn't their biological father. I'd been married to Rebecca for 6 years, together for 7. I'd adopted Noah and Lily legally when they were 5 and 3, after their biological father, Rebecca's first husband, died in a car accident when the kids were 2 and barely 1. I'd been there for first steps I'd actually seen, for preschool graduations, for every nightmare and every celebration. I'd changed diapers and sat through emergency room visits and helped with homework and taught them to ride bikes. I was their father in every way that mattered, except biology. And we'd planned to tell them. Rebecca and I had talked about it extensively, had consulted with their therapist, Dr. Angela Brennan, who had 15 years of experience in childhood development and family dynamics. The plan was to tell them together, when they were 12 and 10, in a controlled environment with Dr. Brennan present to help them process it. We had books, we had resources, we had a strategy to make sure they understood they were loved, that their biological father had been a good man who died too soon, and that I wasn't a replacement, but an addition to their family story. Keith had just destroyed all of that in 15 seconds because he was drunk and, I suspected, jealous. "Is that true?" Noah asked me, his voice small. Before I could answer, before I could find words that wouldn't make this worse, Keith continued. "Of course it's true. Ask your grandmother. Ask anyone here. They all know. They've all been lying to you your whole lives." I looked around the table. 14 people. Rebecca's mother, Patricia, her father, George, Rebecca's sister, Amanda, and her husband, Rick, Keith's wife, Rebecca's other sister, Jennifer, my own parents, who we'd invited, Rebecca's aunts, Carol and Diane, her uncle, Vincent, her cousins. Every single one of them was looking down at their plates, at their wine glasses, at the chandelier, anywhere but at the children who were falling apart in front of them. "Someone say something," Rebecca said. Her voice was shaking but controlled, deadly controlled. "Someone tell me I'm imagining that my brother just traumatized my children at a family dinner and none of you are saying a word." Silence. Patricia cleared her throat. "Rebecca, honey, maybe Keith's right that they should know. They're getting older and these things have a way of coming out. Better from family than from someone else." I actually laughed. It came out harsh and bitter. Better from family? He just announced it like he was commenting on the weather, at dinner, in front of everyone, without any preparation or context. "Well," George said, cutting his roast beef with careful precision, not looking up. "The truth is the truth, Daniel. You can't protect them from reality forever." Rebecca stood up so fast her chair tipped backward and hit the floor with a crash that made everyone jump. "Out," she said. "What?" Patricia looked genuinely confused. "Rebecca, sit down. Let's discuss this like adults." "Out," Rebecca repeated, louder now. "Everyone except Daniel and the kids. Get out of my mother's house right now or I swear to God I will start throwing dishes." "Now, Rebecca, there's no need for dramatics," Patricia started. Rebecca picked up her wine glass and threw it against the wall. It shattered, red wine streaming down the cream-colored wallpaper like blood. That got everyone moving. Keith stood up, hands raised in mock surrender. "Jesus, calm down. I was just being honest. Someone had to tell them eventually." "You have 30 seconds to get out before I call the police," Rebecca said. Her phone was already in her hand. Jennifer, Keith's wife, grabbed his arm. "Keith, we should go. This isn't our business anymore." "It's not our business?" Keith laughed. "I'm her brother. These are my niece and nephew. I have a right to be honest with them." 20 seconds, Rebecca said. They filed out slowly, reluctantly, like they were being forced to leave a show before the finale. My parents left too, my mother trying to catch my eye, but I couldn't look at her. She'd known. They'd all known what Keith was like, how he operated, and none of them had stopped him. The door closed behind the last person, George looking back one more time before Rebecca slammed it in his face. Then it was just the four of us. Lily was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. Noah was staring at the table, his hands clenched into fists. Rebecca came back to the table and knelt between the kids' chairs. "I'm so sorry," she said, and her voice broke. "That was cruel and wrong and not how we wanted you to find out." "Find out what?" Lily sobbed. "That Daddy's not our daddy?" "I'm your daddy," I said, finding my voice finally. "Lily, Noah, look at me. I'm your father. I've been your father since you were babies. Yes, you had a biological father who died before you could remember him, and yes, we were going to tell you about him when you were older. But that doesn't change that I'm your dad, that I've always been your dad." "But you're not our real dad," Noah said, and the word real hit like a physical blow. "What makes someone real?" Rebecca asked quietly. "Is it DNA? Or is it showing up every day, reading bedtime stories, teaching you to swim, staying up all night when you're sick? Your biological father? His name was Andrew. He was a good man. He loved you very much. But he died when you were too young to remember him. Daniel chose to love you. He chose to be your father. That's real, Noah. That's more real than anything." But I could see it in their eyes. The doubt, the confusion, the feeling that their entire lives had been a lie. Keith had planted that poison in 30 seconds, and I didn't know if we could ever fully extract it. We drove home in silence. Lily fell asleep in the car, exhausted from crying. Noah stared out the window, refusing to look at me. When we got home, Rebecca carried Lily to bed. I tried to talk to Noah, but he went straight to his room and locked the door. I stood outside his door for 10 minutes, telling him I loved him, that we could talk whenever he was ready, that nothing had changed. He never responded. Rebecca found me sitting on the stairs at midnight, head in my hands. She sat down next to me, and we didn't speak for a long time. "He knew," she finally said. "Keith knew exactly what he was doing. He's been waiting for an opportunity to hurt you, to hurt us, and he found it." "Why?" I asked, though I knew the answer. "Because you're happy," Rebecca said simply. "Because we're happy. Because your business is successful. Because the kids adore you. Because we have what he doesn't. Jennifer's been talking about divorce for months. His company is failing. He's miserable, and miserable people want everyone else to be miserable too. I'd started my own consulting firm 3 years ago. We specialized in technology integration for small businesses, and we'd grown faster than I'd ever anticipated. Last year, we'd cleared $500,000 in revenue. Keith worked for a company that was downsizing. He'd been passed over for promotion twice. I'd never rubbed it in, never even mentioned it, but he knew. Everyone knew. "What do we do?" I asked. Rebecca was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "We document everything. We get the kids into therapy immediately, and we make sure Keith never gets the chance to hurt them again." "How?" "I don't know yet," she said, "but we'll figure it out." The next morning, Monday, I called Dr. Angela Brennan's office before my first meeting. Her receptionist said she could fit us in for an emergency session Wednesday afternoon. I cleared my schedule. Rebecca called her office and took a personal day. But that afternoon, things got worse. Noah came home from school and went straight to his room without speaking. Lily's teacher, Mrs. Kowalski, called an hour later. "Mr. Hayes, I wanted to let you know that Lily had a difficult day. She was very distressed during class and told several students that her daddy isn't her real daddy. The other children were confused, and some of them said some unkind things. I redirected the conversation, but I thought you should know." My stomach dropped. "Thank you for calling. We're dealing with a family situation. We have a therapy appointment scheduled for Wednesday." "Of course," Mrs. Kowalski said gently. She'd taught Lily for 3 months now, and had always been kind. "Please let me know if there's anything I can do to support Lily at school." When Rebecca got home at 6, I told her about the call. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Then she picked up her phone and made a call. "David? It's Rebecca. I need to talk to you about a legal matter. Family law. How soon can you meet?" David Richardson, her attorney from her first marriage, the one who'd helped with Andrew's estate, and later with my adoption of the kids. 42 years old, 20 years practicing family law, known for being thorough and aggressive when necessary. "Tomorrow at 10? Perfect. Thank you." She hung up and looked at me. "We're going to need legal protection from my family, specifically from Keith." "What kind of protection?" "A restraining order, maybe. Documentation of harassment. I don't know exactly, but David will know. Keith just proved he's willing to traumatize children to make a point. I won't let him near them again until I know they're safe." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the dinner in my head, Keith's smug smile, the way everyone had just sat there, the way my children's faces had crumpled. At 2:17 a.m., I got up and went to my office. I started a document, titled it Keith's Pattern of Behavior, started writing down everything I could remember, the comments he'd made over the years, the subtle digs, the not-so-subtle competition, the way he always had to one-up any story, any achievement. 3 years ago at Christmas, when Noah had proudly shown everyone the robot he'd built from a kit I'd helped him with, Keith had said, "That's nice, but you know your Uncle Keith built a real robot when he was your age. From scratch, not from a kit." A year ago, when Lily had drawn a picture of our family and labeled me Best Daddy, Keith had laughed and said, "Well, he's the only one you remember, so he wins by default." 6 months ago, at Noah's birthday party, when I'd given him a new bike and he'd hugged me and said, "This is the best present ever, Dad," Keith had pulled me aside and said, "Must be nice, buying their love. Easy when you start with a blank slate and don't have to do any of the real work of being a father." I'd let it go every time, told myself he was just insecure, that it wasn't worth the family drama, that Rebecca loved her brother despite his flaws and I needed to be supportive. I'd been wrong. By morning, I had 6 pages documenting Keith's behavior over 6 years. Comments, incidents, witnesses. I printed it and put it in a folder. The meeting with David Richardson was in his office downtown, a glass tower with a view of the harbor. His office was on the 33rd floor, all dark wood and leather furniture and framed degrees from Harvard Law. He shook our hands, offered coffee, then sat down and folded his hands on his desk. "Tell me everything," he said. We did. Rebecca started with the dinner, her voice steady but strained. I added details. David took notes on a legal pad, his expression neutral but focused. When we finished, he was quiet for a moment. "This is harassment," he said finally. "Potentially emotional abuse of minors. The question is what you want the outcome to be." "I want him to never be able to hurt my children again," Rebecca said. "A restraining order?" David asked. "Possible, but challenging. He hasn't threatened physical harm. He revealed information that, while delivered cruelly, is technically true. A judge might not see sufficient grounds. So he can just traumatize them and face no consequences?" I said, trying to keep my voice level. "I didn't say that," David said calmly. "I said a restraining order might be challenging, but there are other options. We can send a cease and desist letter, formally demanding he have no contact with the children. We can document this incident thoroughly in case a pattern develops. We can make it clear that any future contact will be treated as harassment and pursued legally." He looked at Rebecca. "I also think you need to consider your relationship with your family. They enabled this. They sat there and let it happen. You need to decide what boundaries you're setting and how you're enforcing them." Rebecca nodded slowly. "I've been thinking about that. My mother called 4 times yesterday. I haven't answered. I don't know what to say to her." "You don't have to say anything until you're ready," David said. "But when you do, I'd recommend being very clear about consequences. If they want a relationship with you and your children, they need to respect your boundaries. That includes not defending Keith's behavior and not allowing him access to the kids." "Can we do that?" I asked. "Can we tell them Keith isn't allowed around the kids at family events?" "You can set any boundaries you want," David said. "Whether they respect them is their choice, but you can make it clear that if they don't, you won't attend. You're the parents. You get to decide who has access to your children." He pulled out a legal pad and started writing. "Here's what I recommend. First, I'll draft a cease and desist letter to Keith, formally notifying him that he is not to contact or approach your children in any setting. Second, I'll draft a letter to your parents, Rebecca, outlining the harm that was done and your expectations going forward. Third, we document everything, every text, every call, every interaction. If this escalates, we want a paper trail." "What if they just ignore the letters?" Rebecca asked. "Then we escalate," David said. "Restraining order, harassment charges if warranted. But most people, when they receive formal legal notice, take it seriously. It makes them understand this isn't a family squabble you'll get over. This is a legal matter with real consequences." We left with copies of the incident report David had typed up for us to review and sign. In the car, Rebecca was quiet. "I keep thinking about how they all just sat there," she said finally. "My mother, my father, my sisters. They all just let him do it." "I know," I said. "Your mom called again," Rebecca said, looking at her phone. "Twice while we were in the meeting. She left voicemails. Do you want to listen?" Rebecca hit play on the first one. Her mother's voice filled the car, tight with forced cheerfulness. "Rebecca, honey, it's Mom. I know you're upset about Sunday, but I think you're overreacting just a bit. Keith had too much to drink, you know how he gets. He didn't mean any harm. The kids will forget about it in a few days. Call me back. We need to discuss Thanksgiving plans." The second voicemail was more strained. "Rebecca, I don't appreciate being ignored. I'm your mother. I deserve a phone call. Keith feels terrible about what happened. He wants to apologize to the kids. Please call me back." Rebecca deleted both messages. "She didn't even acknowledge what he did," she said. "Didn't even call it what it was. Just what happened. Like a natural disaster, not a deliberate attack." "David was right," I said. "We need clear boundaries." "I know," Rebecca said. "I'm just not sure I'm ready for what that means. Cutting off my family, not seeing them for holidays. The kids losing their grandparents, their aunts, their cousins." "They haven't lost them," I said. "Your family has chosen to enable Keith. You're just refusing to sacrifice our children to keep the peace." But I knew it wasn't that simple. Family never is. Wednesday afternoon, We sat in Dr. Brennan's office with both kids. She was in her early 50s, warm but direct, with kind eyes and an office filled with comfortable chairs and art supplies. She'd been seeing the kids for a year now, helping Noah with anxiety and Lily with the adjustment to second grade. "I want to thank you for coming in today," Dr. Brennan said, settling into her chair. "I know this is hard, but I want you to know that this is a safe space. You can say anything you're feeling, and no one will be mad." Lily immediately started crying. Noah stared at the floor. "Lily," Dr. Brennan said gently, "can you tell me what you're feeling right now?" "I don't understand," Lily sobbed. "Everyone lied to us. Our whole family lied." "What feels like a lie to you?" Doctor Brennan asked. "That daddy's our daddy," Lily said, and I felt my heart shatter. "But he is," Dr. Brennan said. "He legally adopted you. He's raised you since you were a baby. He's your father in every way that matters." "But not in the real way," Noah said quietly. "What do you think the real way is?" Dr. Brennan asked. Noah shrugged. "Blood, DNA, like science." "Okay," Dr. Brennan said. "Let me ask you something. If your mom had given you up for adoption when you were babies and someone else had raised you from birth, would that person be your real parent?" Both kids were quiet, thinking. "I guess so," Noah said slowly. "They raised you, right? Loved you, took care of you, taught you everything?" "Yeah," Noah said. "So why is it different if someone comes into your life a little later? Your dad chose to love you, chose to be your father. He didn't have to. He could have just been your mom's husband, but he wanted to be your dad. He wanted to adopt you legally. That makes it real, doesn't it?" Lily was still crying, but quieter now. "But why didn't anyone tell us? Why did we have to find out from Uncle Keith?" "That's a very good question, Doctor," Brennan said, looking at Rebecca and me. "And I think your parents should answer that." Rebecca took a breath. "We were going to tell you. We had a plan to sit down with you here, with Dr. Brennan, when you were a little older. We were going to explain about your biological father, show you pictures, tell you stories about him. We wanted you to know he was a good man who loved you very much, and that he died too soon. We wanted you to understand that having two fathers, one who died and one who's here now, doesn't make either of them less real. But we wanted to tell you in a way that felt safe, that gave you time to ask questions and process your feelings." "Uncle Keith took that away from you," I said. "He told you in the cruelest way possible, in front of everyone, without any care for how it would make you feel. That's not okay. That's not what people who love you do." "Why would he do that?" Noah asked. "Some people hurt others when they're hurting inside," Dr. Brennan said. "That doesn't make it right, but it's important to understand that his actions say more about him than about you or your family." We spent 90 minutes in that session. By the end, both kids were calmer. Not healed, not fixed, but calmer. Dr. Brennan scheduled weekly sessions for the next month. In the car, Noah said quietly, "Dad?" It was the first time he'd called me that since Sunday. "Yeah, buddy? I'm sorry I said you weren't real." My throat tightened. "You have nothing to apologize for. You were processing hard information in a really unfair way. I love you, Noah. That's never going to change." "I love you too," he said, and I had to pull over because I couldn't see through the tears. That night, Rebecca's sister Amanda called. Rebecca put it on speaker. "Becca, it's me. Mom is freaking out. She says you won't return her calls. She's worried about you." "I'm fine," Rebecca said calmly. "The kids are not fine. Keith traumatized them and Mom defended him. I have nothing to say to either of them right now." "He was drunk," Amanda said. "He made a mistake." "No," Rebecca said. "A mistake is spilling wine or forgetting a birthday. What Keith did was deliberate cruelty, and everyone sat there and let him do it, including you." Amanda was quiet for a moment. I didn't know what to say. It happened so fast. "Did it?" Rebecca asked. "Because I had time to stand up, knock over my chair, throw a wine glass, and count to 30 while telling everyone to leave. You had the same amount of time. You chose silence." "That's not fair," Amanda protested. "What's not fair is my 8-year-old daughter telling her classmates that her daddy isn't her real daddy and getting bullied because of it. What's not fair is my 10-year-old son locking himself in his room and crying because he thinks his whole life is a lie. Don't talk to me about fair. Rebecca, he's family." "So are my children," Rebecca said. "And right now, I'm choosing them. Keith is not allowed near them anymore. Not at family dinners, not at holidays, not at birthday parties. If Mom and Dad can't respect that boundary, then we won't be attending family events." "You're going to blow up the whole family over this?" "I'm not blowing anything up," Rebecca said, her voice icy calm. "Keith did that on Sunday. I'm just refusing to pretend it didn't happen." She hung up. 2 minutes later, her mother called. Rebecca ignored it. A text came through. "We need to talk about this like adults. You're being ridiculous." Rebecca screenshotted it and texted it to David Richardson with a note. "For the file." Friday afternoon, Keith showed up at Noah's school. The principal, Dr. Wallace Brennan, a 58-year-old educator with 31 years in education, called me at 3:15 p.m. Mr. Hayes, I wanted to inform you that a man claiming to be Noah's uncle attempted to pick him up from school today. He's not on the approved pickup list, so we didn't release Noah to him. But he became quite agitated and insisted he had a right to see his nephew. We had to call security to escort him from the premises. My blood ran cold. What did he say? Did he speak to Noah? He did not. We keep students in the office when there's a pickup issue. Noah never saw him. But Mr. Hayes, I need to ask, is there a custody concern here? Should we be aware of any legal issues? There's no custody concern, I said. But there is a family member who has proven to be harmful to Noah's emotional well-being. I'm in the process of obtaining legal documentation restricting his access. I'll have my attorney send over the cease and desist letter and any other relevant documentation. Please do, Dr. Brennan said. In the meantime, I'm adding a note to Noah's file that Keith Morrison is absolutely not authorized for pickup or contact. If he appears again, we'll call the police. I thanked him and immediately called Rebecca, then David Richardson. David's response was immediate and professional. That's attempted unauthorized contact with a minor. I'm filing for a restraining order today. Judge Linda Blackwell Family Court has an emergency docket. I'll get us in front of her Monday morning. The restraining order hearing was at 9 a.m. Monday. Judge Blackwell, 61 years old, 23 years on the bench, reviewed the documentation David had prepared. The incident report from the dinner, witness statements we'd collected from two of Rebecca's cousins who'd been horrified by what Keith did, the school principal's statement about Keith's attempted unauthorized pickup, text messages from Patricia defending Keith and dismissing the harm done Dr. Brennan's professional assessment of the psychological impact on the children. Keith showed up with a lawyer, a young guy named Trevor Mills, who looked fresh out of law school and overwhelmed. Your Honor, Trevor began, my client is the uncle of these children. He has a familial relationship that goes back their entire lives. This restraining order is a gross overreaction to a family disagreement. Judge Blackwell looked at him over her reading glasses. A family disagreement? Mr. Mills, I'm looking at a professional psychological assessment stating that your client's actions caused significant emotional distress to two minor children. I'm looking at documentation that he attempted to make unauthorized contact with one of those children at their school after being told by the parents to stay away. That's not a disagreement. That's harassment. He just wanted to apologize, Trevor said weakly. Then he should have contacted the parents and asked permission, Judge Blackwell said. Instead, he showed up at the child's school and created a security incident. That shows poor judgment at best and potential danger at worst. She looked down at the paperwork again. I'm granting a temporary restraining order. Keith Morrison is prohibited from contact with Noah Hayes and Lily Hayes, directly or indirectly, for a period of 6 months. This includes physical proximity, phone calls, messages through third parties, and social media contact. He is to stay at least 500 feet away from the children's school, home, and any known locations they frequent. Violation of this order will result in arrest and contempt charges. Keith's face went red. This is insane. I'm their uncle. I've known them their whole lives. And you used that relationship to cause them harm, Judge Blackwell said. This court's primary concern is the welfare of minor children. The evidence shows you pose a risk to their emotional well-being. The order stands. Outside the courtroom, Keith tried to approach Rebecca. She held up her phone, already recording. You're violating the order before it's even processed. This is all on video. Keith stopped, his face twisted with rage. You've turned into someone I don't even recognize. This is your husband's doing. He's poisoned you against your own family. No, Rebecca said calmly. You did this to yourself. You hurt my children. You tried to access them at school after being told to stay away. These are your choices, Keith. Live with them. David sent copies of the restraining order to Patricia and George, with a cover letter explaining that any attempt to facilitate contact between Keith and the children would be considered a violation. The response came that afternoon, an email from Patricia. I'm ashamed of you, Rebecca. Your brother made a mistake, and you're destroying him over it. He's lost his wife. Did you know that? Jennifer left him because of all this. He's devastated, and you don't care. You've chosen an outsider over your own blood. Your father and I are very disappointed. Rebecca read it aloud to me that night, her voice shaking. An outsider. That's what she called you. After 6 years of marriage, after you adopted the kids, after you've been there for every holiday and birthday and family event, you're still an outsider. She's trying to guilt you, I said. Don't let her. Jennifer left him? Rebecca pulled out her phone and called her sister's number. Jennifer answered on the third ring. Rebecca, I was wondering when you'd call. Mom said you left Keith. I did, Jennifer said, and her voice was tired but relieved. I should have done it years ago. But what he did to your kids, that was the last straw. I can't be married to someone who would hurt children to make a point. I'm sorry, Rebecca said. Don't be. I'm not. I've been unhappy for a long time. Keith's been getting worse for years. More bitter, more jealous, more cruel. I kept making excuses, just like Mom does. But I'm done. How's he taking it? Badly, Jennifer said. He's staying with Mom and Dad, drinking a lot, blaming everyone but himself, blaming you, blaming Daniel, blaming me. He's convinced he's the victim in all this. Of course he is, Rebecca said. Jen, I need to ask you something. Has he ever been violent? Jennifer was quiet for a long moment. Not physically, but emotionally? Yes. He's destroyed things when he's angry, punched walls, thrown things, said terrible things designed to hurt as much as possible. I've been afraid of him, Rebecca. Not that he'd hit me, but that he'd destroy me in other ways. Does that make sense? Perfect sense, Rebecca said. Are you safe? I'm staying with a friend. Filed for divorce last week. My lawyer is good. I'll be fine. After she hung up, Rebecca looked at me. He's escalating. Lost his marriage. Lost access to the kids. His business is failing. People like Keith, when they lose control, they get dangerous. We have the restraining order, I said. Piece of paper, Rebecca said. Doesn't stop someone who's determined. She wasn't wrong. Wednesday night at 11:23 p.m., our home security camera picked up Keith's car driving slowly past our house 3 times. I called the police. Officer James Hartley, badge number 2891, arrived within 15 minutes. Do you have video? He asked. I showed him the footage on my phone, the security system app showing Keith's silver Lexus making 3 passes. That's the 3rd violation I'm aware of, Officer Hartley said, making notes. The school pickup, and now this. I'm going to file a report and forward it to the prosecutor's office. They may decide to pursue charges. Will that stop him? Rebecca asked. A restraining order violation is a criminal offense, Officer Hartley said. If the prosecutor charges him, he could face jail time. That tends to get people's attention. But I could see in his eyes that he'd seen this before, knew that sometimes pieces of paper and warnings weren't enough. 2 nights later, Friday, Noah woke up screaming at 2 a.m. I ran to his room. He was sitting up in bed, tears streaming down his face. What's wrong, buddy? Bad dream? There was a man outside my window, he sobbed, watching me. My stomach dropped. Noah's room was on the 2nd floor. There was no balcony, no tree close enough to climb. No way someone could be at his window unless they had a ladder. Are you sure? I asked gently. It might have been a shadow. I saw his face, Noah insisted. It looked like Uncle Keith. I grabbed my phone and pulled up the security camera app, scrolled back to 30 minutes ago. There, in the backyard, illuminated by the motion sensor lights, Keith, standing at the base of a ladder, looking up at Noah's window. I showed Rebecca. Her face went white. Call 911, now. I did. Explained the situation. The dispatcher stayed on the line while patrol cars were dispatched. Is the subject still on the property? She asked. I checked the live feed. No, the footage is from 1:47 a.m. It's 2:14 now. He's gone. Officers are 3 minutes out. Stay inside with your doors locked. Officers arrived at 2:17, searched the property, found the ladder still propped against the house under Noah's window, found footprints in the flower bed, took photos, filed a report. This is stalking, one of the officers, Sergeant Diana Fletcher, 21 years on the force, said grimly. With the restraining order in place, this is a felony. I'm putting out a warrant for his arrest. At 6:30 a.m., I got a call from David Richardson. I saw the police report. They've arrested Keith. He's being arraigned this morning. The prosecutor's office is charging him with stalking, restraining order violation, and attempted burglary. Attempted burglary? He had a ladder against your house, David said. Legal interpretation is that he was attempting to gain unauthorized entry. It's a stretch, but the prosecutor wants to throw everything at him to get him to take a plea deal. What kind of plea deal? Probably mandatory therapy, probation, extended restraining order, possibly a short jail sentence, 30 to 60 days. Depends on how scared they can make him. Keith made bail that afternoon. His parents paid it. That evening, Patricia called Rebecca. Rebecca put it on speaker. I hope you're happy, Patricia said without preamble. Your brother is in jail, arrested like a criminal, because of you. Because of him, Rebecca corrected. He violated a restraining order. He stalked us. He put a ladder up to our son's window in the middle of the night and traumatized him. These are his choices. He just wanted to apologize to Noah, Patricia said. At 1:47 in the morning, by climbing a ladder to his bedroom window? Mom, do you hear yourself? You've poisoned the children against him, Patricia said. He's their uncle. He loves them. He just wanted to make things right. Rebecca laughed, and it was a sound I'd never heard from her before. Cold, empty. You know what, Mom? I'm done. I'm done trying to make you see reality. I'm done hoping you'll choose your grandchildren over your son. I'm done setting myself on fire to keep you warm. What does that mean? Patricia asked, her voice uncertain now. Rebecca took a breath, and when she spoke again, her voice was steady. Calm. Final. It means you have a choice. You can acknowledge that Keith's behavior is unacceptable and harmful. You can stop making excuses for him. You can support boundaries that protect your grandchildren. Or you can continue to enable and defend him. But if you choose him, you're choosing to not have a relationship with me or my children. There's no middle ground anymore. You're making me choose between my children, Patricia said, and now she was crying. No, Rebecca said. I'm asking you to choose what's right over what's comfortable. Keith is an adult who made terrible choices and is facing consequences. Noah and Lily are children who deserve to be protected. It shouldn't be a hard choice. There was a long silence. Then Patricia said, He's my son. And Noah and Lily are my children, Rebecca said. Goodbye, Mom. She hung up, blocked the number. Then she made another call, put it on speaker again. This time it was her father who answered. Rebecca, your mother is very upset. I know, Rebecca said. I just talked to her. Dad, I need you to understand something. Keith traumatized my children. He violated a restraining order. He stalked our home and climbed a ladder to Noah's window in the middle of the night. These aren't misunderstandings. This is a pattern of escalating dangerous behavior. I won't expose my children to that. I won't expose myself to that. And I won't maintain relationships with people who defend it. What are you saying? George asked. I'm saying that if you and Mom continue to defend Keith, continue to make excuses, continue to try to guilt me into giving him access to my children, then you're choosing to not have a relationship with us. I love you, but I love my children more, and I will always choose their safety over your comfort. This is Daniel's influence, George said. He's the one putting these ideas in your head, turning you against your family. Rebecca looked at me, and I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Not anger, not sadness, certainty. She held up one finger to me. Wait. Then she said 3 words into the phone. 3 words that I'll remember for the rest of my life. 3 words that changed everything. Call my lawyer. Then she hung up. I stared at her. What does that mean? It means, Rebecca said calmly, that I'm done arguing with them, done explaining, done defending. David is drafting a formal letter to my parents outlining that any further contact attempting to defend Keith, facilitate access to the children, or harass us about our boundaries will be considered harassment and will be pursued legally. We're going no contact. Completely. Until they can prove they've changed. Are you sure? I asked. They're your parents. And these are our children, Rebecca said. Daniel, my mother kept a journal. Did I tell you that? I shook my head. When I was going through her things last year, looking for old photos for Noah's school project, I found a journal. Years of entries. She'd been documenting Keith's behavior since he was a teenager. Every cruel thing he said, every person he hurt, every lie he told. Just like your dad found with your mom in that story you told me about. She knew. She's always known exactly who he is. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't want to believe it, Rebecca said. I told myself it was just her processing her feelings, that it didn't mean she was enabling him. But I was wrong. She knew, and she chose to protect him anyway. Chose to sacrifice everyone else to keep him comfortable, including her grandchildren. She pulled out her phone and sent a text. To David Richardson, I assumed, based on her next words. I'm sending him copies of the journal, every page. It's evidence of knowing, willful enablement. If they try to pursue grandparents' rights, which I think they might, we'll use it to show a pattern of prioritizing Keith over the children's welfare. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Your mother-in-law called me crying. She says you and Rebecca are keeping the children from them. This seems extreme. Family is family. Can we talk? I showed Rebecca. She read it and said, Your parents were there that night, at the dinner. They saw what Keith did. They left without saying a word. I knew she was right. I typed back, Mom, the answer is no. Keith traumatized the kids. Rebecca's parents defended him. We're protecting our children. If you want to discuss this further, contact our attorney, David Richardson. I sent David's contact information and blocked my mother's number. That night, for the first time in 2 weeks, both kids slept through the night. No nightmares. No crying. Rebecca and I lay in bed, not sleeping, just holding each other. Do you think we're doing the right thing? She whispered. Yes, I said without hesitation. I think we're doing the only thing. Our job is to protect them. That's it. Not to keep the peace, not to maintain family harmony, just to protect them. It's going to be lonely, Rebecca said. Holidays without family, birthdays without grandparents. We'll make our own traditions, I said. Better ones. With people who actually love and respect our kids. 2 weeks later, Keith pleaded guilty to stalking and restraining order violation. The prosecutor offered him a deal, 8 months in jail, 3 years probation, mandatory therapy, and a permanent restraining order. His lawyer advised him to take it. He did. Patricia and George hired a lawyer to pursue grandparents' rights. David Richardson filed a motion to dismiss, attaching the journal as evidence. The judge, Honorable Robert Chen, I need to use a different name. The judge, Honorable Robert Whitmore, 63 years old, 32 years on the bench, reviewed the evidence in chambers. He called both legal teams in for a conference. David told us later what happened. Judge Whitmore read excerpts from the journal aloud, David said. Entries documenting Keith's behavior from age 15 to present. Then he looked at their lawyer and said, You're asking me to grant access to children to grandparents who documented evidence of their son's harmful behavior for decades and did nothing? Who defended him when he traumatized those same children? Motion denied. And counselor, I suggest you advise your clients to stop harassing this family before I start considering restraining orders against them as well. The motion was denied. Patricia and George's lawyer advised them not to appeal. We never heard from them again directly. They sent cards on birthdays and holidays, which we filed with David but didn't open. 3 months after Keith's sentencing, Jennifer's divorce was finalized. She got the house, her retirement accounts, and sole custody of their dog. Keith got nothing. He served his 8 months, got released on probation, and last I heard, moved to another state. Started over somewhere his reputation hadn't followed him. 6 months after the dinner that broke everything, Dr. Brennan said the kids were ready to reduce therapy to twice a month. They were processing well, she said. Understanding that what happened wasn't their fault, that family sometimes fails you, that the people who stay and protect you are your real family. 1 year after that night, Rebecca and I were sitting on the back porch while the kids played in the yard. Lily was teaching Noah some dance she'd learned in gymnastics. They were laughing. "Do you regret it?" I asked. "Cutting them off?" Rebecca thought for a moment. "I regret that it was necessary. I don't regret doing it. Look at them." She gestured to the kids. "They're happy. They're safe. They trust us to protect them. That's worth more than any family relationship built on obligation and guilt." That night, Lily came to say goodnight. She hugged me tight and said, "I love you, Daddy. My real daddy." "I love you too, sweetheart," I said, my voice catching. After she left, Noah appeared in the doorway. "Dad, can I ask you something?" "Always." "Why did you adopt us? Like, really? You didn't have to. You could have just been Mom's husband." I sat up, giving him my full attention. "You want the honest answer?" He nodded. "Because the first time I held you when you were 4 years old, you looked at me and said, 'Are you going to be my new daddy?' And I realized that's exactly what I wanted to be. Not a replacement for your biological father. Not just your mom's husband. Your dad. Completely, fully, forever. So I became that. And you don't regret it? Even with everything that happened with Uncle Keith and Grandma and Grandpa?" "Not for a single second," I said. "You and Lily are the best thing that ever happened to me. I'd do it all again in a heartbeat." He smiled. "Good, because you're stuck with us now." "Damn right I am," I said, and he laughed. 2 years after that dinner, we had a small celebration, just the 4 of us. It was the anniversary of the adoption finalization. We'd started celebrating it every year as Family Day. We made Noah and Lily's favorite foods, watched their favorite movies, and at the end of the night, we sat around the table and each said one thing we were grateful for. "I'm grateful for our family," Lily said. "Our real family, the one that protects each other." "I'm grateful that we learned who really loves us," Noah said, more mature now at 12 than I'd been at 20. "I'm grateful for resilience," Rebecca said, "for learning that choosing what's right is more important than choosing what's easy." I looked at my wife, my children, the family we'd built and protected and fought for. "I'm grateful," I said, "that when everything fell apart, we chose each other. And that's the truth that matters. Not biology, not obligation, not tradition. Choice. Every single day, we choose each other. And that makes us more real than any DNA ever could." Thanks for watching till the end. Make sure to subscribe and like to not miss the next story.